Alita! We must away!
Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles is a game that feels alive, even decades after its original release. From the first moment you step into the world of Ivalice, there's a tangible sense of weight to every decision, every movement across the battlefield. You play as Ramza, a young nobleman whose ideals and morals are constantly tested as he navigates a labyrinth of political intrigue, betrayal, and war. The story doesn't just tell you about this world, it immerses you, asking you to feel the stakes, to understand the human cost behind every coup, every skirmish, every whispered secret in a darkened tavern. And yet, despite the gravity, the game never feels inaccessible. Its narrative flows naturally, supported by dialogue that has been carefully refined, brought to life by voice acting that resonates with subtle emotion and occasional sparks of humor. On the battlefield, the turn-based combat is a dance of strategy and foresight. The Ivalice Chronicles doesn't just show you a grid, it gives you a playground of tactical possibilities. Elevation matters, terrain matters. Every action has a reaction, and every unit, from the most powerful knight to a humble thief, has weight and purpose. Pre-battle planning has never felt this satisfying. Dropping your units into formation, adjusting equipment, switching jobs, considering the flow of the turn order. The addition of features like the overhead tactical view and turn reset options let your creativity breathe without shackling your ambition. The world itself is a character, from its war-torn plains to sun-drenched castles, from rain-soaked forests to the claustrophobic hallways of enemy fortresses. Subtle graphical enhancements make these environments pop without betraying the charm of the original design. You can see dust motes dancing in shafts of light during conversations, watch spells arc elegantly across the battlefield, and notice the smallest details that make Ivalice feel lived in. The soundtrack complements this perfectly, blending orchestral tension with delicate motifs, keeping your pulse in sync with the narrative's twists and turns. Every choice you make ripples outward. Permadeath creates tension without cruelty, while the flexible job system encourages experimentation, letting you tailor a team to your vision. Errands and side activities reward curiosity, while story events anchor your progress in a larger, emotionally resonant narrative. The game respects your intelligence, your patience, and your capacity for strategy, while never letting the experience become mechanical or detached. Ultimately, The Ivalice Chronicles is more than a remaster. It is a living, breathing world where narrative and gameplay intertwine seamlessly. It rewards careful thought, encourages emotional investment, and provides a tactical challenge that is both rigorous and fair. This is a game for anyone who loves to be intellectually engaged while emotionally moved, for those who want to master strategy without sacrificing story, and for players ready to lose themselves in a world that feels vast, complex, and unforgettable. I give Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles a 9.5 out of 10. It is essential for strategy RPG fans, perfect for those who appreciate deep narrative and tactical complexity, and a rich experience even for newcomers ready to discover the brilliance of Ivalice for the first time. Imagine waking up in a quiet, fog-shrouded village, the air heavy with tension, and every creaking floorboard or distant whisper seems amplified, as if the town itself is alive. This is the world of Silent Hill F, a game that boldly shifts the familiar psychological horror landscape from the decayed streets of Western Silent Hill to the intimate, haunting corners of 1960s rural Japan. From the first step outside Hinako Shimizu's home, you feel the weight of isolation and the invisible gaze of a town that knows your fears before you do. The village of Ebisugaoka is meticulously crafted, with winding streets and quiet homes that seem normal at first glance, yet conceal a constant sense of dread. Flowers bloom vibrantly, their beauty clashing with the underlying menace, creating a subtle unease. Shadows stretch unnaturally, and corridors that should be safe become labyrinths of anxiety. Every room, every shrine, every alleyway feels alive, as if the environment itself is both a friend and an adversary. Combat in Silent Hill FO is a deliberate dance between survival and strategy. Hinako's arsenal, pipes, knives, wrenches, isn't merely a tool for offense, but a physical extension of her struggle, each swing weighed down by stamina and consequence. Timing and precision matter. A missed dodge or poorly chosen attack can turn an encounter lethal. Even in moments of action, the tension never dissipates, because the town constantly reminds you that resources are finite, and the line between safety and danger is razor thin. The other world in this installment is a revelation. Reimagined through Japanese mythology and folklore, it replaces decayed Western motifs with shrines, ceremonial halls, and surreal landscapes that reflect Hinako's internal torment. Encounters here are as much about solving cryptic puzzles as they are about confronting grotesque manifestations of guilt, fear, and resentment. Each transition between the normal world and the supernatural realm deepens the narrative, making every step feel purposeful, every discovery resonant. Audio plays a central role in shaping your experience. The soundtrack, ambient noises, and subtle shifts in silence are not just background, they are tactile, pressing against your senses and pulling you deeper into the story. Footsteps echo with intent, whispers hint at unseen dangers, and music swells in a way that mirrors Hinako's emotional state. The village feels alive, haunted by memories, and this interplay between sound and space creates a persistent psychological tension. Silent Hill FO is not a casual stroll through horror. It is an intimate, sometimes brutal examination of grief, societal pressure, and the shadows that dwell within a person. It asks you to navigate both physical threats and the labyrinthine corridors of the human mind. The story unfolds gradually, each encounter and puzzle threading together to reveal a narrative that is both tragic and cathartic. The game rewards patience and observation, offering multiple layers of discovery on subsequent playthroughs. Silent Hill F is a masterclass in immersive psychological horror, seamlessly blending action, exploration, and narrative depth. It challenges players to think, feel, and fear in equal measure, crafting an experience that lingers long after the console powers down. This is a game for those who seek horror that is intelligent, atmospheric, and deeply human. For me, Silent Hill F is a solid 9 out of 10. For players who appreciate methodical combat, atmospheric exploration, and emotionally resonant storytelling, this game is an essential journey into the heart of fear. The first thing that struck me when stepping into Silksong was not the combat or the difficulty. It was the feeling of being dropped into a living place. Farloom is more than just a backdrop. It's a kingdom that breathes through its ruins, its strange inhabitants, and the weight of history pressed into every wall and platform. You don't just move through it, you inhabit it, and that sensation lingers with every step. Hornet feels different from the night, and not just because she speaks. Her movement has a sharpness of vertical energy that makes every jump and dash feel decisive. Combat thrives on precision. A diagonal slash becomes a tool of expression, a way to carve through space with intent. Healing too is no longer casual. It requires a full silk bar and a commitment. You weigh risk against safety, and that small pause defines the rhythm of battle. Exploration is careful, almost meditative. The world tempts you with side paths, hidden caverns, and half-seen objects glimmering in the dark. Missions weave into this flow as moments of connection. The requests of strangers become reasons to linger, to listen, and to care about the world beyond mechanics. They make Farloom feel occupied, not abandoned. The music deserves its own praise. Melancholic when you need stillness, soaring when danger swells. Every note ties emotion to motion. It transforms even simple traversal into something unforgettable. The artistry is deliberate and it shows. Not every system is flawless. Limiting equipment slots early can feel restrictive, more like withheld potential than meaningful choice. Boss fights hit hard, but they respect your time. They teach patterns instead of punishing blindly. Performance remains smooth, visuals sharp, and the small touches of animation add to the sense that this world was crafted with patience. If you want a game that rewards curiosity, demands attention in combat, and immerses you with sound and atmosphere, Silksong is a rare treasure. If you're easily discouraged by loss or punishing systems, it may test your patience more than your reflexes. For me, it is a 9 out of 10, and I can recommend it to players who thrive on exploration, precise combat, and worlds rich in atmosphere. This is an easy choice. For those who prefer more relaxed progression, approach with caution, but don't dismiss it outright. Sonic Racing Crossworlds is not just a kart racing game. From the moment you accelerate off the starting line, it immediately hooks you with its sense of speed and precision. Every drift, boost, and jump feels tactile, like the game is rewarding your timing and risk-taking. You can feel the weight of each vehicle, yet the controls remain intuitive enough to allow for fluid chaining of actions, transforming every corner into a thrilling decision point. The Crossworlds mechanic, which teleports racers mid-lap to completely new tracks, keeps each race unpredictable, and every portal feels like a surprise twist, forcing adaptation and strategy in real time. It's an evolution in kart racing design, merging nostalgia with fresh innovation. Visually, the game dazzles. Tracks brim with color, dynamic lighting, and subtle details that make each environment feel alive. Whether you're racing through lush jungles, futuristic cities, or twisting coastal cliffs, the world reacts beautifully to motion, and the sense of speed is enhanced by how each scene flows past. The audio design complements this perfectly. The soundtrack pulses with energy, merging classic Sonic motifs with exhilarating new arrangements that make each race feel cinematic. Characters chatter and taunt, adding personality and immersion without ever feeling intrusive. Customization is deep without being overwhelming. Each vehicle type, cars, karts, and hoverboards, responds differently, and gadgets allow for meaningful strategic choices. Do you prioritize drift efficiency, boost potential, or survivability? The decision shapes how you approach each lap. Combined with the collection of rings, items, and multiple racing lines, the game rewards experimentation and mastery. Even in online matches, the pacing is smooth, the crossplay is seamless, and each race feels competitive yet fair. The roster is rich, spanning classic characters, newer entrants, and exciting crossovers, while unlockables and progression give long-term goals without ever feeling like a grind. The thrill of discovering a perfect racing line, chaining a series of boosts, or narrowly overtaking an opponent never diminishes. Crossworlds captures that rare balance between accessibility and depth, where a newcomer can feel competent immediately, yet mastery is endlessly rewarding. Sonic Racing. Crossworlds is a game that celebrates motion, speed, and the joy of competition. Every session is vibrant, immersive, and exhilarating. Its minor flaws, like occasional AI aggressiveness or some gadget unlock pacing, are far outweighed by the consistently electrifying gameplay. This is a kart racer that not only respects the legacy of its characters, but also pushes the genre forward. I give Sonic Racing Crossworlds a 9 out of 10. It's perfect for fans of fast-paced racing, players who enjoy deep customization, and anyone seeking a high-energy, endlessly replayable arcade experience. LEGO Voyagers is a game that, at first glance, seems deceptively simple. You control two tiny sentient LEGO bricks, one red, one blue, rolling through meticulously crafted dioramas that feel alive despite their minimalist design. But what begins as a gentle, almost whimsical adventure quickly reveals itself to be a heartfelt meditation on friendship, cooperation, and curiosity. From the first tumble across a grassy meadow to the final moments, the game manages to convey genuine emotion without a single word of dialogue. The world of LEGO Voyagers is a vibrant, ever-changing landscape. Early areas feature serene forests and bubbling streams, each brick reflecting light in a way that makes the digital plastic feel tangible. As you progress, the scenery shifts into industrial spaces, satellite arrays, and rocket launch facilities. Yet every environment maintains the same playful, handcrafted aesthetic. The attention to detail is staggering. Shadows, reflections, and the subtle sway of loose bricks all contribute to a sense of immersion that is rarely achieved in puzzle platformers. Gameplay revolves around cooperation. Every puzzle, from building makeshift bridges to operating vehicles in tandem, demands communication and timing. The controls are intentionally playful, allowing for a slight wobble or misstep, which adds charm rather than frustration. There is a rhythm to moving and attaching bricks, a dance between the two players that mirrors the themes of friendship and shared problem solving. Each successful build or platforming challenge delivers a tangible sense of accomplishment, not just for the completion of a task, but for having done it together. The story unfolds in a wordless yet profoundly expressive manner. Watching the two bricks gaze at a distant rocket, witnessing its failure, and embarking on an adventure to restore it evokes a surprising depth of emotion. The game's final act is quietly devastating, repurposing familiar mechanics and environments to deliver a moment that resonates long after the screen fades to black. LEGO Voyagers understands that emotion in games is less about spectacle and more about shared experience. Despite its brilliance, the game is not without minor friction. Building mechanics can occasionally feel imprecise, requiring patience and practice. Movement can overshoot in tight platforming sections, and some puzzles demand careful coordination that may challenge younger players. Yet these moments never undermine the overall experience. Instead, they reinforce the sense of connection between the players, turning even small frustrations into shared triumphs. LEGO Voyagers is short, clocking in at around 4 hours, but every minute is deliberate. It's a game that rewards attention, encourages collaboration, and captures the essence of building and discovery in a way few games manage. The ambient soundtrack complements the visuals perfectly, soothing without ever fading into the background, guiding players through each scene with subtle emotional cues. LEGO Voyagers is a quietly remarkable achievement. It is an invitation to play, explore, and connect. It reminds us why cooperative experiences can be deeply moving, even when played with the simplest of avatars. For anyone who enjoys thoughtful puzzle platformers, heartfelt narratives, or cooperative adventures that prioritize connection over competition, this game is an essential journey. I give LEGO Voyagers a 9 out of 10. It is a must-play for families, friends, and anyone who has ever found joy in creating and exploring together. Borderlands 4 is here, and it feels like a reckoning. From the first moment I dropped onto the shattered planet of Kairos, I was hit by a storm of chaos, color, and pure, unfiltered adrenaline. The art style is instantly familiar, vivid, cel-shaded, and almost hyperreal. But now it's layered with details that make every landscape, every ruined outpost, and every cosmic vista feel alive. The world itself isn't just a backdrop, it breathes, it reacts, it challenges you. And with movement options like double jump, dash, glide, and a grappling hook, navigating this chaotic playground is as thrilling as the firefights themselves. Combat, at its core, is what Borderlands 4 does best. Guns feel weighty, satisfying, and endlessly inventive. Each weapon carries its own personality, with alternate firing modes that reward experimentation. I've thrown grenades that explode on impact, ricocheted bullets off enemies for chain reactions, and unleashed a barrage of lock-on missiles, all in the span of a single fight. The thrill isn't just in the spectacle, it's in the rhythm, the timing, the improvisation that makes every encounter a little different, a little more alive. Kairos isn't just open for the sake of openness. It's a sprawling, interconnected world packed with side quests, hidden vaults, and unpredictable events. Traversing it is addictive, and the Digirunner companion adds a layer of convenience that doesn't compromise exploration. But the planet isn't just fun to run across, it has stakes. The Timekeeper is an antagonist who lingers in your mind, a tyrant with an unsettling presence and the ability to manipulate those under his control. Each lieutenant adds their own distinct flavor of danger, keeping you on edge and invested in the struggle. Writing in Borderlands 4 finally feels purposeful. Vault hunters speak, interact, and react. Their dialogue is sharp, situational, and even occasionally heartfelt. Humor lands without begging for a laugh. Claptrap has his moments of absurdity, but even he is allowed small glimpses of unexpected depth. The story is propelled by your actions, and it's impossible not to feel like a participant rather than a spectator. Visually, Borderlands 4 is stunning, but demanding. The environments shine, battles are chaotic yet readable, and each explosion carries tangible weight. The performance demands might challenge some systems, but the payoff is immense. This is a game that rewards both patience and audacity, exploring, looting, mastering your arsenal, and engaging in the ebb and flow of combat with precision and creativity. Borderlands 4 is not just a shooter, it's a living, breathing looter RPG where every gunfight is an event, every character a story, and every corner of the world a potential adventure. It's thrilling, exhausting, and profoundly satisfying. For fans of looter shooters who love experimentation, tactical combat, and immersive storytelling, this is a must-play. For those who crave a world alive with danger and discovery, Borderlands 4 delivers in spades. I give Borderlands 4 a 9 out of 10. It's explosive, inventive, and emotionally resonant, a benchmark for what a looter shooter can achieve. Gloomy Eyes is one of those games that quietly sneaks into your heart and refuses to leave. From the very first moment, you are pulled into a world suspended in perpetual night, where humans and the undead occupy separate, fragile existences. You meet Gloomy, a zombie boy with glowing eyes, and Nena, a spirited human girl. At first glance, they are opposites, and yet, they are bound together by a mission that is as simple as it is profound. Bring back the sun. The story unfolds like a dark fairy tale, filled with moments of quiet melancholy and tender connection. There's a kind of poetry in watching these two characters navigate a world that, at every turn, reminds them of the divisions they are meant to respect. Yet, through their cooperation, through the back and forth rhythm of switching between Gloomy and Nena, you feel a narrative momentum that is equal parts suspense and warmth. The Gravekeeper's narration, steady and resonant, feels like a story being whispered just for you, and it makes every puzzle and obstacle feel weightier than it truly is. Gameplay is where Gloomy Eyes truly shines. Each level is crafted as a diorama, giving you a miniature stage to rotate, examine, and explore. Gloomy's strength and stealth among the undead complement Nena's agility and her ability to traverse lighted areas, creating a dance of cooperation that is endlessly satisfying. Puzzles are intuitive but never simplistic. They challenge your mind without ever feeling punitive. The tactile sensation of moving objects, switching perspectives, and nudging the world to your will feels deeply rewarding. Occasionally, the camera can obscure a detail, or a sequence may temporarily confuse, but these moments are fleeting and pale in comparison to the joy of discovery. The visual design is exquisite. Tim Burton's influence is unmistakable, yet it feels fresh here, translated into handcrafted environments that are both haunting and inviting. Every shadow, every flickering light, every quirky character design adds to the game's atmosphere. The music and sound design elevate this further. A whimsical, haunting score swells at just the right moments, and environmental cues, from distant creeks to fluttering fireflies, constantly pull you deeper into the world. Gloomy Eyes is brief, around 5 hours, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. Each chapter is a carefully balanced mix of story, puzzle, and exploration. Replayability exists in chasing hidden secrets and observing the beautifully animated dioramas, yet the main experience is satisfying on its own. In conclusion, Gloomy Eyes is more than a puzzle platformer. It is an emotional journey. Its story of friendship, courage, and perseverance in the face of darkness is amplified by clever mechanics, exquisite visuals, and a soundtrack that lingers in memory. I score it a 9 out of 10. It is a game that will resonate with anyone who enjoys a thoughtful, beautifully presented adventure. If you appreciate narrative-driven puzzle games, handcrafted worlds, and a subtle yet profound emotional experience, Gloomy Eyes is one you cannot miss. Imagine a world where the snow falls relentlessly, blanketing streets and sidewalks alike, muffling the world into a soft white hush. In Easy Delivery Company, this world becomes your playground, your challenge, and your solace. You are a small cat driving a tiny K-truck, tasked with delivering plans, pizzas, and other packages to the scattered residents of a mountain village. At first glance, it seems simple. Pick up a package, transport it, and drop it off. But in practice, it is an intricate dance of risk, timing, and patience. The roads are treacherous, lined with snowbanks that could swallow your truck whole, dotted with rickety bridges and steep cliffs that dare you to drive recklessly. The controls feel weighty yet responsive. Every turn, every brake, every acceleration feels grounded in a physics that rewards careful navigation, but punishes carelessness with falling packages or flipped vehicles. The truck's cargo, precariously bouncing in the bed, transforms each delivery into a micro-story of tension and triumph. Sometimes, a package tumbles from the back, and you rush to save it, heart pounding, only to succeed by the narrowest margin. These moments, brief as they may be, inject a subtle adrenaline into a game that is otherwise calm, quiet, and contemplative. The village itself feels alive, though sparsely populated. Residents are anthropomorphic animals, each carrying quirks and subtle tragedies. A stuttering cat at the flower shop, a dog perched by a fire with a cryptic piece of advice. The world communicates in small, quiet ways that linger long after the delivery is done. You feel a responsibility, not just to complete your route, but to respect the tiny lives in this isolated, snowbound town. And the environment does its part. The wind whistles, the snow piles high. The low visibility challenges your perception, demanding that you pay attention, adapt, and survive. Audio and visuals complement this perfectly. The PS1-inspired low-poly graphics evoke nostalgia, while lending charm and clarity to every scene. Streetlights glow softly against snow-laden rooftops. Inside your truck, the radio provides a soundtrack ranging from mellow lo-fi to rhythmically tense jungle beats. A soundtrack that perfectly mirrors your pace, calm during cautious driving, urgent when disaster strikes. You can almost feel the cold biting at your whiskers, the icy roads shifting under your wheels, the gentle vibration of the truck under your paws. There is a quiet strategy here too. Your energy and your fuel are finite, and each decision about which deliveries to take or which route to follow carries weight. Energy drinks and coffee stave off exhaustion, fuel purchases demand budgeting, and riskier longer routes promise greater rewards. Every choice is small, yet consequential, and the game never tells you explicitly how to prioritize, leaving room for personal judgment and emergent storytelling. Easy Delivery Co. is deceptively simple. It is not about grand narratives or epic battles, but about small victories, the satisfaction of a safe delivery, and the beauty of a meticulously crafted world. It invites you to slow down, to notice the details, and to find joy in precision, patience, and presence. By the time you finish a 5-hour run through its snowy lanes, the quiet accomplishment lingers, warming you more than any cup of coffee could. I give Easy Delivery Co. a 9 out of 10, and I recommend it to players who enjoy cozy exploration, tactile driving challenges, and meditative pacing, as well as anyone seeking a world that is simultaneously delicate, dangerous, and full of understated charm. Quartet is not just a game, it's a journey. From the moment you step into its pixelated world, you are greeted with a sense of familiarity, yet every corner, every melody, every character exudes a freshness that commands attention. The game begins by allowing you to choose one of 4 protagonists: a cook, a shopgirl, a sergeant, and a mage. Each has a distinct personality, a distinct path, and a distinct world. And from the very first moments, the game invites you to live through their struggles, their joys, and their unexpected connections. The prologues are compact, intentional, and incredibly precise in setting up stakes, emotions, and motivations. There's a linearity to them, yes, but it's a linearity that serves the narrative rather than constraining the player. As the 4 heroes' stories converge, you begin to form a party, a team that feels alive. Their interactions are not only functional, they are infused with warmth, humor, tension, and surprise. These are relationships that grow naturally, and the dialogue, sprinkled with clever nuances, makes you feel invested in each individual journey. Combat is turn-based and deeply satisfying. The visual turn order is always present, encouraging strategy without overwhelming the player. Each ability, each block, each swap of party members carries weight. Blocking replenishes AP, offensive abilities reward clever targeting, and switching characters mid-battle opens up layers of tactical depth. Even though battles are largely fixed and grinding is absent, the pacing never suffers. Every encounter feels meaningful, as though the game is whispering, "This moment matters." Progression is simple but effective. New skills arrive at a measured pace, accessories provide subtle but impactful choices, and every level up is a step forward, not a grind. The lack of a complex skill tree might feel sparse to some, but it keeps the focus on the story and the evolving interplay of your team. Equipment choices are meaningful, encounters are carefully designed, and each boss feels like a unique challenge, not just another roadblock. The world of Quartet is intimate yet expansive. Its pixel art evokes nostalgia without feeling dated, and its soundtrack lingers in memory long after the console is off. Each region has a personality, each melody its own story, and each corner a sense of place that pulls you deeper into the game. Exploration is deliberate, even linear paths feel alive with detail, and every secret you uncover feels earned. Quartet excels not only in mechanics but in its emotional resonance. The story unfolds naturally, the character's growth feels earned, and the intertwining plots maintain a rhythm that keeps you engaged. There is joy, there is tension, and there is wonder. It is a game that respects the intelligence and patience of its player, rewarding curiosity and careful observation. Quartet is a masterfully crafted RPG that blends nostalgia with innovation, simplicity with depth, and strategy with emotional engagement. It is a game that will appeal to fans of story-driven adventures, turn-based tactics, and rich character development. Its moments of quiet reflection, combined with intense combat and meaningful choices, create an experience that lingers. I rate Quartet a solid 9 out of 10, and I recommend it to any gamer who loves classic JRPGs, thoughtful storytelling, and strategic, character-focused gameplay. Little Problems. A cozy detective game is one of those rare titles that sneaks up on you. On the surface, it's simple. A university student named Mary navigating everyday life. But the moment you start clicking, exploring, and piecing together clues, you realize it's much more than that. The game invites you into a world where the mysteries aren't about saving the world or unmasking international conspiracies. They're about small human moments. Did Mary's cat knock over a USB drive? Who took the last slice of cake at the party? Which assignment was submitted late? These questions may seem minor, but solving them gives a quiet sense of satisfaction that lingers. The gameplay is deceptively clever. Each chapter presents a hand-drawn scene packed with details. You examine objects, dialogue, and interactions to uncover who is involved and what's happening. It's a logic puzzle wrapped in charm. The interface is intuitive. Clicking keywords, taking notes, or returning to previous clues feels natural, and the hint system strikes a delicate balance. It nudges you when you're stuck, but never takes the joy out of discovery. Some puzzles demand careful attention, tracking multiple characters, timelines, or even cross-referencing social interactions. But the challenge never feels punishing. The visuals are immediately disarming. Soft colors, distinct character designs, and cozy interiors create a warmth that perfectly matches the tone of the game. Even mundane scenarios, a family birthday, a crowded concert, or a trip to the vet, become engaging because of how thoughtfully they're presented. Mary's world feels alive. The little flourishes, a cat's expression, a subtle reaction from a friend, an overlooked object, reward curiosity, making exploration genuinely enjoyable. What struck me most is the emotional grounding. There's a rhythm to Mary's first-year university life, small triumphs, awkward moments, and the occasional setback. You witness friendships forming, tentative romance, and the little victories of problem-solving. It's immersive because it's relatable. You're not a superhero, you're an observer, a participant in someone else's carefully curated chaos. If there's a drawback, it's that the game is short. 4 to 6 hours is all it takes to see the entire story, though the hidden cupcake collectibles and optional puzzles extend replayability. Yet, even within that compact experience, it's memorable. Every case is satisfying, and the pacing keeps curiosity high. Little Problems is a gem for anyone who enjoys logic, deduction, and story-driven puzzles without the weight of life or death stakes. Fans of cozy mysteries, cerebral puzzles, or simply a relaxing yet engaging way to spend an afternoon will find this game delightful. It's whimsical, clever, and emotionally resonant in a way that lingers after the screen goes dark. For these reasons, I give Little Problems, a cozy detective game, a solid 9 out of 10. It's short, yes, but it's a lovingly crafted puzzle experience that proves that not all mysteries need to be life-altering to be meaningful.
Anything can happen! Anything?
I walked into this game thinking it would be familiar. What I didn't expect was how quickly it would feel like home. The first thing you notice is the sound. Bricks clacking, tiny comedic thuds, a host duo that narrates with genuine personality. The second is how simple the rules feel, and how deep they quietly become once you start playing. You roll, you move, you build, you play a minigame, you earn studs, you spend studs on golden bricks. That framework is straightforward, but the joy is in the moments between the steps. Minigames are the heartbeat here, 60 of them, each with its own rhythm. Some demand precision, some demand spectacle, a few demand pure chaos. Winning one doesn't just give you studs, it gives you the advantage of going first on the board. That single design choice reshapes every match. Skill matters, momentum matters. Suddenly your best laid plan is something you defend between rounds, not something you wait to hope for. The boards feel alive, they grow as you play. Paths open, shortcuts appear, and decisions you make early can echo for the whole match. It's playful strategy, not heavy theory. The kind that keeps conversations loud and laughter frequent. Customization is silly in the best way. Hundreds of minifig options, mix and match parts, outfits that make you smile every time your character bounces across the screen. It gives identity to small victories. There are rough edges. The announcers can repeat lines too often. A handful of minigames land clunkily. And with only a few boards at launch, the urge to see more is real. But those flaws don't mute the central pleasure. Friends gathered, quick rounds, genuine swings of fortune that feel earned. If you want chaotic family nights, this is for you. If you want a skill-forward alternative to luck-heavy party games, this is for you too. If you love LEGO, the charm here is built into every pixel. I score it an 8.5 out of 10, and I can recommend it to families, casual groups, LEGO fans, and anyone who enjoys competitive social games that favor play over pure randomness.
We're gonna take down the fighters. You go for the Corvette.
Jump Space is a game that immediately draws you in with its kinetic energy and sense of scale. From the moment you launch your first ship, there's a tangible weight to every movement. Flying through the void isn't just about pressing buttons, It feels deliberate, as if the universe itself is reacting to your decisions. Combat, both on foot and aboard your vessel, balances tension with a playful rhythm, keeping you on edge without ever feeling unfair. Each mission offers a sense of purpose, whether it's scavenging, repairing, or coordinating with your crew. The way these tasks intertwine creates moments of genuine excitement and occasional chaos, where teamwork isn't just encouraged, it's essential. The game thrives in its co-op interactions. Even solo, the companion AI, Buddy, eases the logistical challenges of hauling loot or managing repairs. But with friends, the experience becomes a lively orchestration of overlapping roles and responsibilities. The humor emerges organically, from frantic firefights to unexpected catastrophes aboard the ship. Every encounter, every maneuver, feels alive. The visuals support this sense of immersion. Lighting, particle effects, and the design of each space station give the universe texture and depth. Audio cues are equally impactful, reinforcing urgency and rewarding careful attention. There are minor rough edges. Missions can start to feel repetitive, the hub interface could use slight refinements, and space combat, while satisfying, occasionally lacks the depth for extended sessions. Still, these are minor quibbles compared to the overall experience. Jump Space manages to deliver a polished, engaging adventure despite being in early access. Its world encourages exploration, improvisation, and camaraderie, and it gives you the space, pun intended, to feel like your choices truly matter. Jump Space is a remarkable title that blends tactical decision-making, chaotic fun, and immersive design into a cohesive whole. While there's room for growth, it already captures a compelling vision of cooperative space adventure. I rate Jump Space an 8.5 out of 10, and I recommend it to gamers who love strategic co-op experiences, creative problem solving, and a universe that feels alive and responsive to your actions. Atelier Wrestleriana. The Red Alchemist and the White Guardian is a game that sits at the intersection of tradition and reinvention. It brings back the warm heart of the Atelier series, a tale of alchemists, friendships, and rebuilding a broken world. But it presents everything in a way that feels both familiar and fresh. You play as two protagonists, Ryas, a curious and lighthearted adventurer with a knack for stumbling into alchemy, and Slade, a more serious figure driven by family legacies and a mysterious artifact. Together, their journey isn't just about fighting monsters or gathering herbs, but about discovering why their town fell into ruin and what it means to restore it. That emotional throughline gives the adventure a weight beyond its whimsical surface. Combat returns to classic turn-based roots, with added layers of timing and combo mechanics that make each encounter more dynamic. Multi-actions and item mixing create exciting moments of synergy where strategy pays off with explosive results. It's slower than the fast-paced action of recent Atelier entries, but there's a satisfying rhythm to planning turns and pulling off a perfectly timed combo. Alchemy, the core of the series, is streamlined here but still rewarding. The new emphasis on color matching keeps synthesis accessible while allowing room for creativity. Where it really shines is in the shopkeeping system, selling crafted items to fund the restoration of your town. Watching Halifine slowly come back to life as you succeed feels tangible and motivating, adding a sense of purpose to every recipe you complete. Visually, the game is gorgeous. The evolving town of Halifine is particularly striking, starting gray and barren, then transforming into a lively, colorful hub as your efforts pay off. Paired with a heartfelt soundtrack, it makes exploration and downtime feel just as rewarding as combat. Atelier Wrestleriana isn't the deepest or most ambitious entry, but it is one of the most heartfelt. Its balance of approachable mechanics, emotional storytelling, and community-driven progression makes it easy to recommend. For newcomers, it's a gentle introduction to Atelier's charms. For veterans, it's a reminder of why the series endures. I score it an 8 out of 10, as it is a warm, rewarding adventure, best suited for those who value cozy RPGs with heart, patience, and the joy of watching small efforts blossom into lasting change.
Stay calm if we want to find the cut.
Imagine stepping onto the deck of a riverboat gliding down the Nile, the warm glow of the 1970s sun reflecting off golden waters. You are Hercule Poirot, the meticulous Belgian detective, and you are about to untangle one of the most intricate mysteries ever conceived. Or perhaps you are Jane Royce, a bright and determined private detective with a personal vendetta, chasing shadows and secrets across exotic locations. Agatha Christie, Death on the Nile doesn't just ask you to solve a murder, it asks you to live inside the story. From the moment you step into the game, the 70s aesthetic grips you. Rich oranges, sun-drenched yellows, and the occasional groovy disco floor create a vibrant, almost tactile world. Every location, from sunken living rooms to bustling New York alleyways, feels purposeful. You wander, you observe, and sometimes, you just pause to marvel at the set pieces, an architecture as expressive as the characters themselves. Every dialogue feels deliberate, every glance a clue. You gather information, notice discrepancies, and watch motives unfold like a tapestry. It's a dance of observation and deduction, and you feel the thrill with each revelation. Poirot's sharp reasoning contrasts beautifully with Jane's intuition and tenacity, giving the story a rhythm that keeps you turning the page, or in this case, moving from scene to scene. Gameplay is where the magic becomes tangible. The mind map is your constant companion, evolving as clues accumulate, forcing you to think critically, to connect dots that are often obscured beneath layers of misdirection. Puzzles vary from the elegantly simple to the devilishly intricate. You will rotate mirrors, decipher mechanical locks, and yes, occasionally wrestle with a jukebox that refuses to cooperate. But when a solution clicks, the satisfaction is profound, a reminder that this is not just a game, it's a mental voyage. The pacing is measured, thoughtful. Each chapter has its own pulse, its own mini-arc, yet all feed into a larger crescendo. The emotional beats land with subtlety, moments of tension, relief, and quiet triumph are punctuated by the ever-present hum of mystery. The music, an acid jazz soundtrack, gently underlines the narrative, never overpowering but always reminding you of the era you inhabit. Technically, the game has its quirks. Character animations can be stiff, lip sync imperfect, and at times the interface nudges you in slightly unnatural ways. Yet these imperfections are minor against the backdrop of what the game achieves. A living, breathing detective world that rewards patience, observation, and intellect. Agatha Christie, Death on the Nile, is not merely a retelling, it is an invitation. An invitation to think, to question, to experience the delicate tension between what is seen and what is hidden. It is immersive, challenging, and above all, profoundly satisfying. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. For fans of narrative-driven adventure, for anyone who revels in piecing together puzzles with logic and intuition, this game is a must-play. It's less about speed and more about the journey. And the journey here is unforgettable. From the very first step, this game grips you with a sense of quiet unease. You awaken in a dimly lit hospital, stripped of clarity, and each movement carries you through a world that feels both alien and intimately familiar. Shadows stretch unnaturally, corridors fold upon themselves, and yet, every detail is deliberate. The atmosphere isn't just seen, it is felt. The visuals are astonishing, combining a pixelated aesthetic with surreal, almost painterly landscapes. It's the kind of art direction that draws you in and refuses to let go. The sunless world you traverse pulses with life and decay, and there are moments that linger long after you've looked away. Gameplay in Eclipsium is deceptively simple. At its core, it's a walking simulation, but it does not lean on cheap thrills or jump scares. Exploration is central. Each area is carefully crafted with puzzles that are more about observation and deduction than reflexes. Some sections challenge your patience, particularly when visual cues are minimal, but overcoming them rewards more than just progression. It rewards understanding. Controls are intuitive, yet there are moments where perspective and motion intersect in unexpected ways, adding a subtle layer of tension. Every movement encourages you to look closer, to notice details you might otherwise overlook. The story unfolds slowly in fragments. You encounter remnants of a life, traces of someone else's presence, and the game trusts you to assemble the narrative. It is haunting and poetic, leaving gaps for your imagination to fill. You might not fully understand everything on a first playthrough, and that's intentional. It's a meditation on memory, consequence, and survival in a world on the edge of collapse. Music and ambient soundscapes complement this perfectly. Every tone, every swell, pulls you deeper into the setting, enhancing both wonder and unease. The sound design ensures that silence itself is meaningful, a partner to the visuals rather than a void. Eclipsium is not for every player. If you crave fast-paced action, clear objectives, or conventional puzzles, it may frustrate you. But for those who appreciate immersive atmospheres, subtle storytelling, and a journey that blends dread with beauty, this game is a rare gem. It is a reflective experience, a place to pause, observe, and feel the weight of the world around you. Eclipsium is a masterclass in environmental storytelling and artistic vision. It combines emotional resonance with careful, thoughtful design. The game is beautiful, challenging in quiet ways, and memorable long after you step away. I give it an 8 out of 10, and recommend it to fans of contemplative games, atmospheric walking simulators, and anyone willing to embrace ambiguity and subtlety for a deeply immersive experience. Platypus. Reclade is a fascinating dive back into the world of classic horizontal shooters, and the moment you start the game, it's clear that this remake was made with love. From the very first second, you're piloting the iconic F-27 Platypus, weaving through swarms of enemies in a game that feels both frantic and deliberate. The claymation visuals are immediately striking, every ship, explosion, and environmental detail carefully crafted and scanned into the game. It's a rare treat to see stop-motion artistry translated so faithfully into interactive form, and it gives every stage a tactile, handcrafted personality. The story, while light, provides just enough context to anchor the action. Colossotropolis is expanding into Mongolia, spreading chaos and pollution, and it falls to your squadron to push back. It's simple, yes, but it gives the game a sense of purpose beyond the pure arcade thrill. You feel like a defender in a living world, dodging bullets, smashing enemies, and chasing high scores. Gameplay is both the heart and the challenge. You have 3 ships to choose from, each with unique stats, but even the easiest choices demand precise timing, quick reflexes, and constant attention. Power-ups are inventive and chaotic. Homing missiles, flamethrowers, flying donuts, even fish. They don't just make you stronger, they alter the rhythm of combat and force you to strategize, even in moments of pure chaos. Collecting score-boosting items adds another layer of intensity, though their placement can sometimes feel unforgiving. The level design is thoughtful, but the difficulty spikes are harsh. Solo play can feel punishing, especially against bosses that swarm the screen with relentless homing attacks. Losing a power-up mid-fight is common, and it can make certain encounters feel unfair rather than challenging. The game clearly shines in local co-op, where the chaos is shared and more manageable, but the solo experience often requires near-perfect execution. Still, when the flow clicks, the combat is exhilarating. The combination of enemy variety, environmental hazards, and time power-ups keeps each stage fresh. Visually and audibly, Platypus. Reclade delivers charm and personality in spades. Watching a clay ship crack and crumble under fire, or seeing the bright, colorful backgrounds, creates a sense of place that few games can match. The music is upbeat and complements the action well, though it rarely sticks in the mind beyond the play session. Platypus Reclade is a well-crafted, visually stunning shoot-'em-up with moments of pure joy, but its punishing difficulty and occasional design frustrations prevent it from reaching greatness. I scored an 8 out of 10. It's a must-play for fans of the genre who enjoy a challenge, and it shines best when experienced with a friend in co-op.
Help Henry be curious and playful again.
I never expected to fall for a half-head, but Henry Halfhead makes that feel inevitable. Pause. Breathe. Now imagine a playground where anything, a pencil, a kettle, a paper plane, can become you. That's the core of the game. It's simple, tactile, and immediate. The game asks you to inhabit objects, not metaphorically, literally. You slide into a toy xylophone and you play. You become a watering can and you shower a plant back to life. Each item carries weight. Each item moves differently. The controls let those differences sing. Sometimes the wobble is charming. Sometimes it's infuriating. Either way, it matters. There's a narrator, not a lecture. More like an old friend telling a story while you act it out. The voice is warm, patient. It guides, it nudges, but it rarely drags the lesson into view. That restraint gives the moments room to breathe. When the game shifts from childhood mischief to the quieter, grinding parts of adult life, the same playfulness becomes a quiet act of resistance. The levels are short, curated scenes. Each one is a pocket universe of possibilities. The puzzles are not about complexity, they're about curiosity. They reward experimentation more than they punish failure. The soundtrack hums underneath, jaunty when it should be, tender when it needs to be. It stitches the whole experience together. 2 hours is all it asks, and you give it your attention because it's asking you to do something rare, to play seriously, to treat tiny moments as meaningful, to remember that creativity is a muscle, not a luxury. Henry Halfhead is a small, sly emotional sandbox. It's imperfect. Physics wobble, repetition creeps, but its sincerity lifts it higher than its flaws. I scored an 8 out of 10. Pick this up if you like short, inventive experiences, if you enjoy tactile puzzles and gentle storytelling, and if you believe play is worth defending.
Pac-Man World 2 Repack.
Pac-Man World 2 Repack is a game that takes a beloved childhood memory and rebuilds it into something sharper, smoother, and far more polished. From the very first level, it becomes clear that this isn't a simple remaster. Every stage feels deliberately touched up, as if each design choice was made to refine the original ideas without losing their charm. And yet, while the game is undeniably improved, it doesn't always transcend its roots. The story is lighthearted and simple, almost cartoon-like in its delivery. Ghosts wreak havoc, Pac-Man steps up, and the world slowly unfolds into a colorful journey filled with traps, collectibles, and clever platforming challenges. What makes it resonate isn't the plot itself, but the way the presentation carries it. A fully voiced Pac-Man, vibrant visuals, and energetic music keep the adventure moving with a sense of fun that feels timeless. Gameplay is where the Repack shines most. Pac-Man's movements are fluid, responsive, and varied enough to keep platforming fresh. The butt bounce, rev roll, and projectile throwing combine into a toolkit that gives players both precision and flexibility. The level design encourages exploration, rewarding curiosity with hidden paths and secrets. Still, pacing can occasionally falter. Some later stages lean too heavily on gimmicks, pulling away from the tight platforming that makes the earlier areas so engaging. There's a surprising amount of replay value baked into the experience. Time trials, collectible hunts, and bonus arcade games add depth beyond the main campaign. However, not every extra feels meaningful. Cosmetic rewards and gashapon prizes often lack the same weight as the game's core challenges, and after a while, they can feel like filler. Performance is stable, controls are intuitive, and visually, the game is far more striking than you might expect. But while the improvements are undeniable, This remake never fully escapes the limitations of its origins. It's fun, charming, and polished, but it doesn't quite achieve greatness. For me, it is a 7.5 out of 10, and it is easy to recommend for fans of platformers who enjoy nostalgic yet modernized adventures. It's a solid game with plenty to love, especially for those who grew up with Pac-Man, but it won't be the platformer that defines the genre for a new generation. When I slipped into the temporal shell, I expected slick sci-fi. What I didn't expect was how heavy everything would feel. Boots thud, shots sway. Every hallway in New Dawn breathes like a dying lung, and the first thing the game teaches is simple. Nothing here is free. You play as the Traveler. Face hidden, voice measured, duty carved into every line she speaks. The job sounds clinical. Harvest essences, repair a broken timeline, but it lands personal. Each extraction nudges reality sideways. Streets fold into themselves. Christmas lights flicker over rot. Notes and tapes tug you toward answers without ever handing them over, and that ambiguity, handled with restraint, kept me leaning forward. Moment to moment, it's survival first. Weapons hit harder when charged, but the charge steals seconds you rarely have. Ammo counts matter. Inventory space matters more. Do you carry the key or the med kit, the flamethrower canister, or the extra shells? Even safe rooms aren't promises, more like breaths you hold. A tiny indicator on your gun tells you which corpses are done rising and which are pretending. It becomes a ritual. Scan, step, breathe. The orphans are disgusting and clever. Kill one, forget to burn it, and another will try to merge, swelling into an armored problem that taxes your pouch and your pulse. Sometimes you play conductor, kite, line them up, pierce 3 skulls with 1 round. Sometimes you panic, fuel's gone, body stack, and the floor becomes a bad idea. Bosses push you to the red, shots counted, exits memorized, heart loud in your ears. Then the game flips gravity, boots humming, debris hanging like chandeliers while you hop between islands and stitch paths back together by rewinding broken structures. Simple puzzles striking payoffs. It isn't perfect. A few encounters lean too far into attrition. A jump scare or two hits like a tax rather than a thrill. Frame pacing can hitch on new loads and haptics feel reserved. But the mix of brutalist ruins, meat-slick corridors, and that synth-heavy score sells the fiction. More importantly, it sells the pressure. For me, it is a 7.5 out of 10. I recommend this to players who savor methodical horror, resource triage, route planning, fights that punish impatience. If you want a power fantasy or pure haunted house terror, this leans colder, sharper, slower. Imagine a world folded entirely from paper, trees, animals, even the ground beneath your feet, all delicately constructed from origami. This is Hiragami, and from the moment you step into its handcrafted landscapes, it's clear this game is unlike anything else. You play as Hiro, a young ritual dancer turned reluctant hero, whose peaceful life is upended by a creeping corruption known as the Blight. The world you traverse is fragile, each crease and fold seeming to tremble under the weight of this invasive darkness. What sets Hiragami apart isn't just its visual charm, though the papercraft aesthetics are breathtaking. It's the feeling of transformation itself. Hiro possesses the ability to fold into different forms: an armadillo, a frog, a gorilla, and even a gliding paper plane, each with unique abilities that change the way you move through the environment and approach challenges. Platforming in Hiragami is a tactile, deliberate experience, rolling as the armadillo, hopping as the frog, swinging as the gorilla. Each transformation feels alive, responsive, and playful. The game carefully encourages experimentation, rewarding you for thinking creatively about which form to use and when. Yet, this tactile joy is sometimes tempered by stiff controls in combat and occasional frustrations with camera angles. Battles against the Blight can feel disjointed, requiring patience and precision to manage both forms and environmental hazards simultaneously. The narrative is understated but effective. Hiro's hesitation, his self-doubt, and his journey to reclaim his lost abilities are quietly compelling. It's not a story of grandiose heroics, it's a story of perseverance, of learning to step into responsibility, and of uncovering the hidden strength in a world that feels delicate, almost ephemeral. Dialogue is sparse, but it carries a gentle warmth, punctuated with moments of humor and personality that make each encounter memorable. Hiragami's levels are thoughtfully crafted, though their pacing fluctuates. Early sections glide smoothly, allowing you to savor movement and transformation. Later levels test patience with tighter platforming and more complex sequences, demanding mastery over all of Hiro's abilities. Collectibles and mini-challenges add layers of replayability without ever feeling forced, giving you reason to revisit earlier levels and explore each nook and cranny. Audio complements the visuals perfectly. Subtle environmental sounds, the soft flutter of paper, and a calming, traditional-inspired soundtrack immerse you further into the world, emphasizing the delicate, handcrafted aesthetic. In conclusion, Hiragami is a game that excels in artistry, creativity, and immersive experience. While it occasionally stumbles in combat fluidity and level pacing, it offers a unique adventure that rewards patience, ingenuity, and a love for tactile gameplay. Its charm is in its delicate execution and thoughtful design, making it a standout in the platforming genre. For me, Hiragami is a 7.5 out of 10. I would recommend it to players who enjoy creative, visually driven adventures, those who appreciate methodical platforming, and anyone looking for a game that feels both meditative and rewarding.
Gonna make this run worthwhile. They make you better.
From the moment you step into Asuka's boots, you are propelled through the neon-lit corridors of Moebius with a velocity that borders on overwhelming. Every leap, wall run, and grapple feels weighty, precise, and urgent, as though the game itself breathes through your own adrenaline. The cityscape of Moebius stretches above a desolate mining planet, a backdrop that's both stark and mesmerizing, where cold steel structures reflect neon glints, and every shadow could hide a new wave of enemies. The combat in Metal Eden is relentless. Enemies appear in waves, each requiring a different approach, and the core mechanic adds a thrilling layer of tactical decision-making. Do you rip the core from an enemy to instantly eliminate a threat, hurl it for explosive chaos, or absorb it to supercharge your melee attacks? Every choice is alive with consequence, and each skirmish becomes a small, intense puzzle. Weapons feel responsive and impactful, though some hits lack the visceral weight you expect in a shooter of this pace. Still, the dance between guns, abilities, and parkour is intoxicating, pushing you to constantly adapt, to move, to react. Metal Eden is unafraid to push its narrative into the background. Asuka's story, while compelling in its concept, a hyper unit navigating a city on the brink of collapse, often takes a backseat to the immediacy of gameplay. Voiceovers by Nexus and other characters layer exposition during high-octane moments, creating an atmosphere that feels alive yet occasionally chaotic. The story's intricacies, the mysteries of the engineers, and the nuances of core technology reward attention, but the game thrives when you surrender to the kinetic flow. Exploration is swift and purposeful. Platforming sequences, zip lines, and the limited use of armored ramball form break-up combat with creative movement challenges, though these moments are brief and leave you craving more. Each environment, whether industrial corridors or alien landscapes, is designed to emphasize speed and fluidity, and the game's aesthetic consistently reinforces the futuristic cyberpunk mood. Technically, Metal Eden impresses and falters in equal measure. On high action scenes, minor frame drops and occasional visual inconsistencies emerge, yet they rarely hindered the core experience. Audio design shines, with electronic beats that pulse in sync with your momentum, and satisfying weapon sounds that punctuate every encounter. Metal Eden is a focused, exhilarating ride. It may not linger long in memory for its story, but the thrill of combat and the mastery of movement create an experience that feels fresh and alive. This is a game for players who crave speed, challenge, and relentless action, who want to feel the pulse of every jump and gunshot. I rate Metal Eden in 7.5 out of 10. Gamers who thrive on precision shooters, hyperkinetic combat, and cyberpunk atmospheres will find themselves utterly immersed in its world.
I'd be happy to take your lives. Every last one.
I resisted the smaller suits at first. I wanted the hulking stomp of old school mechs. Then Titanic Scion grabbed me with a single stubborn thing: momentum. Movement here is not an afterthought, it's the engine. You boost, you arc, you dive, and every transaction with the world feels immediate. The arsenal is a living tool. Weapons snap differently, swords have weight, rifles bite, and maces send enemies flying in satisfying arcs. Lock-on and radar steer fights, but the heart of the combat is spatial, positioning, angles, and timing. When a battle sings, it's a fast choreography. When it stumbles, it's usually because the rules around you are fraying, an invisible boss, or an endlessly spawning twin that leeches joy from the encounter. Customization is the game's love language. Parts, attachments, and fusion choices let you build something that feels like yours. Fuse too much, and your pilot mutates into a witching winged horror. Keep it minimal, and you stay human. The choices are both cosmetic and mechanical. The tension, power for price, makes tinkering meaningful. The open world invites exploration. Its vistas can be dramatic, its biomes can surprise, yet there's an honest emptiness at times. Routes loop back to similar objectives. Side missions repeat. The world sometimes feels like a vast scavenger hunt without a strong narrative compass to steer you. The soundtrack refuses to be background noise. Guitars and drums push combat forward. Music gives fights weight. Audio often carries where the plot does not. And the plot, well, it tries. It throws grand ideas at you. Exile, hierarchy, mutation. But characters get rushed, emotional beats land softly, and large reveals arrive with little setup. The neon are interesting. They simply deserve more time. Technically, the game wears its ambition. On mid-range hardware, you'll see frame hiccups, pop-in, and long loads. On beefier systems, things smooth out. Multiplayer is a highlight. Co-op fights and shared bases amplify the joy. Titanic Scion is not flawless. It asks for patience. It rewards curiosity. It thrills when the systems align, and it frustrates when they don't. For me, it is a 7.5 out of 10, and I can recommend it to players who love deep customization, mech movement lovers, co-op explorers, experimenters who enjoy min-maxing.
Anyone in my shoes would have done the same.
Hell is Us is a game that plunges you into a war-torn world, dark, relentless, and utterly mesmerizing. From the moment you take control of Remy, a soldier returning to his homeland, the atmosphere grips you with a sense of unease and constant tension. The world of Hadia is hauntingly realized. Every ruined village, every shadowed alley, and every abandoned building tells a story. It's not just a backdrop, it's a character in its own right, whispering histories of conflict and despair. Exploration in Hell is Us is unflinchingly hands-off. There are no maps, no markers guiding your path. You traverse forests, sewers, bombed-out cities, and dilapidated monuments, piecing together where to go through observation and instinct. Side quests, or good deeds, ask you to deliver items or aid civilians, often under the pressure of time, and failing them can have palpable consequences. Combat is a study in precision and patience. Drawing inspiration from Souls-like mechanics, every swing, dodge, and parry feels deliberate. Health and stamina are intertwined, demanding attention and careful timing. The addition of the drone adds an unexpected layer, letting you distract, attack, or even traverse terrain in creative ways. While the weapon and enemy variety is somewhat limited, the combat remains engaging through environmental challenges and clever ability combinations. There's satisfaction in mastering encounters, in learning when to strike and when to retreat. The narrative is understated yet compelling. Remy's journey to uncover his past and confront the horrors of Hadia is delivered through a mixture of environmental storytelling, dialogue, and investigative logs. The world is bleak, yes, but moments of humanity shine through. A grieving man by a ditch, a child hiding from danger, or the brief serenity of a sunlit field. These contrasts deepen the emotional resonance, making every victory, discovery, or loss feel meaningful. Puzzles are abundant and often layered, requiring memory, observation, and deduction. They occasionally slow the pace, but their integration into exploration keeps you engaged and thinking. The sense of discovery is amplified by the fact that solutions aren't handed to you. Success requires attention and intuition. Graphically, the game is impressive, capturing both the devastation of war and fleeting moments of beauty. Sound design and music enhance every step, echoing the dread and melancholy of Hadia while giving life to quiet, reflective moments. Hell is Us is not without flaws. Combat can become repetitive, some late-game abilities trivialize encounters, and certain puzzles demand a level of patience that may frustrate casual players. Yet, these are balanced by a world that demands exploration, a narrative that evokes genuine emotion, and gameplay that rewards careful strategy. For me, this game is a 7 out of 10. It is an experience for players who seek depth, challenge, and immersion. If you are drawn to atmospheric action-adventure games with thoughtful combat and rich storytelling, this is a title worth diving into. Bad Cheese doesn't try to scare you first, it tries to make you behave. I spent a weekend in a rubber hose house, a little mouse with a list on the fridge, and a father whose smile means danger. The goals sound simple, keep daddy happy, but every chore feels like a test you can fail. Scrub, sweep, fry, fetch. Do it well, and the walls breathe a little softer. Miss a step, and the music sours. What immediately works is the look and the pulse. Hand-drawn black and white frames waggle like old film, then warp into flesh, gears, gramophones, and teeth. The house is a stage and a stomach. I cleaned a kitchen that blinked at me, fought spiders that multiply like bad thoughts, and fed a laundry machine with a sock cannon that coughed more than it fired. The art anchors everything. It's funny for a second, then wrong for a minute. Moment to moment, this is a light, tactile puzzle box. Each area bends a domestic task into a small objective chain. Clear the cobwebs, assemble a contraption, ride a steamboat of bad memories, tiptoe the hallway that never ends. There's platforming, simple combat, and snacks tucked everywhere. Collecting them is equal parts comfort and compulsion. Controls are readable, but occasionally fussy. Stamina pinches at the worst time, jumps can be particular, and aiming sometimes feels a hair off its true center. When the pace stutters, you feel it. The sound sells the fiction. Tinny tunes croon like they came from a cracked phonograph, then wilt into droning unease. Voices are warm, then weaponized, sweet instructions that turn into expectations. The loud shocks hit, but the real horror is quiet. The key turning, the footsteps on the stairs, the way the house asks over and over to be good. Narratively, Bad Cheese is less a riddle to solve than a bruise to press. The imagery points to abuse, absence, and appetite. The child keeps the routine because the routine keeps the child. Answers are withheld, and the ending arrives like a light shutting off, abrupt, unresolved, honest in its discomfort. I wanted one more beat, but the cut stings in a truthful way. It's short, one sitting, maybe two, and that suits it. If you come for systems, you'll want more. If you come for sensation, you'll get plenty. I recommend it to fans of art, first horror, surreal domestic nightmares, and compact experiences that linger longer than they last. Sensitive to themes of family violence? Approach with care. I am scoring it a 7 out of 10. Other skin sneaks up on you, quietly, not with flesh, but with atmosphere. You play Alex, a lone volunteer on a one-way mission to Vandermeer, a planet eaten by something called the Corruption. The opening minutes do not explain everything. They invite you to look closer and to listen, to move slowly. That restraint becomes the game's tone, thoughtful, a little haunted, and curious. At the center of the experience is the morphing system. Beat a creature, and you can take a piece of it. Wings, a tongue-like grapple, a shield over stranger things that bend gravity and time. Each morph alters how the world responds. A gap becomes a glide. A tower becomes a choreography of hooks and swings. These tools are playful and audacious. There's a design choice that will divide players. Morphs are temporary between levels. Each stage gives you a new kit. You relearn movement, you relearn possibility. For me, that felt like a series of small epiphanies. For others, it will undercut a sense of growing power. Combat blends guns and hands. Weapons overheat instead of running out of bullets, and melee recharges your range fire. It encourages risk, close in to reload faster. When it works, encounters become tight dances of timing and choice. When it doesn't, aiming feels fiddly, and the blade hits like a ghost. The levels are inventive, often beautiful, and frequently strange in ways that stick with you. But ambition comes with costs. Performance stutters appear in crowded scenes. Physics and collision sometimes misbehave. Rare softlocks and janky respawns break immersion. These are not fatal, yet they puncture the mood at the worst moments. Still, others can deliver something rare. A game that trusts curiosity. It mixes tactile traversal, rewarding puzzles, and a melancholic story about change and consequence. Play it for the ideas, the levels, and the moments that surprise you. Expect rough edges. For me, it is a 7 out of 10. It's a game made for players who love atmospheric exploration, inventive movement systems, and patient, discovery-driven design. I cannot recommend it if you need flawless technical polish or Twitch-perfect combat.
The controls are simple. Just aim and time it right.
The first thing I felt walking onto the course was a grin, quick and involuntary. The world is bright, characters are exaggerated. The game wants to be silly, and it succeeds. It makes you feel like someone handed you a toy club and said, "Go have a ridiculous time." That tone is the game's greatest asset. But then the rhythm breaks. The swing meter, at that tiny sacred moment of focus, sometimes stutters. Timing blips. A shot you thought was perfect becomes a slice for no satisfying reason. When that happens, the illusion collapses. Joy becomes a mystery to decode, not a craft to polish. Gameplay lives in the tension between freedom and friction. Courses allow cheeky shortcuts. You can bounce balls off strange geometry, you can chase risk, and sometimes it pays off with pure, goofy triumph. Still, progression insists on a grind. Unlockables drip out, and loyalty meters ask you to repeat the same faces until they yield their best tricks. It feels like savoring cake through a straw. Voice lines are another character. They chirp, cheer, and sometimes scream at you. At first, they charm. After hours, they wear thin. A toggle for restraint would have been a mercy. The soundtrack flirts with catchiness. The environments often look pleasant, though textures and pop-in remind you the game is not aiming for polish. Wacky Golf is the highlight. It embraces chaos, tornadoes, exploding turf, homing shots. The absurdity is framed as a party mode that truly sings. Play it with 2 friends. Laugh. Don't call it competitive. For me, it is just okay, and a 6 out of 10. Buy it if you value personality over perfection. If you host a couch party and crave unpredictable fun. Don't buy it if you demand pinpoint, repeatable precision, or if minor frame dips make you hang up the controller.
Is everyone all right?
Kai, you out there?
Oh, thank God. I thought I'd lost you.
I played Arctic Awakening from the first frozen frame to the last, and I want to tell you what it feels like to be inside it. Slowly, clearly, and with the sort of attention the game asks for. You wake up to wind and wreckage. You wake up to a voice that isn't quite human, Alfie, part companion, part judge. From that moment, the game sets a mood. Loneliness that hums, tension that tightens, and a quiet insistence that every step matters. The core of the experience is walking, listening, and choosing. Movement is weighty. Snow underfoot sounds substantial. The world resists haste. It rewards patience. Conversation is the mechanic that carries most of the weight. Choices arrive like small gestures. An offhand joke, a refusal, a soft answer. And the way Kai speaks shapes the room between him and Alfie. Many decisions feel subtle at first. Later, their echoes matter. The game does not hand you spectacle, it hands you consequence. There are survival threads woven through the journey. Hunger, sleepless nights, breathing exercises at cairns. These systems add texture. Sometimes they deepen immersion. Occasionally, they interrupt rhythm. When mechanics and story fit, the result is intimate. When they don't, the seams show. Visually, the world is striking. Pale horizons, strange angular structures, weather that feels authored rather than random. The music is sparse and stubbornly effective. When it arrives, it colors everything. Silence here is an instrument. I must be honest, technical hiccups visited my playthrough. Triggers occasionally failed, sounds dropped out, and the game sometimes needed a reload to remember what it was doing. Those moments break the spell. Still, the narrative pulls hard enough that many stretches remain unforgettable. Arctic Awakening is not for someone who wants constant action. It is for players who like to sit with an atmosphere, who want voice and small moral weight to steer their way forward. If you value mood, voice performance, and a mystery that unfolds at walking pace, this will speak to you. For me, it is a 6 out of 10, and I can recommend it for contemplative players and fans of character-driven mysteries. If you play it, go slow. It sits on the screen like a brutal drawing come alive. The art is sharp, each frame feels carved. When a punch lands, you hear the breath of impact. Pause. Feel that. That's how matters in this game. You play as one man at the bottom of the ring. Your tools are simple: high, low, charge strikes, and movement. Duck, dodge, block. The antagonists are not mindless, they are patterns. Learning them is the game's heart. Watch the shoulder, listen for the intake, move on the beat, counter when the opening comes. That rhythm transforms repetition into a kind of mastery. When it works, it is pure satisfaction. Time a charge hit into a stun foe. The screen shudders. The music breathes in. The reward lands physically, not just numerically. Those moments are rare, but real. When it fails, it feels sharp. The telegraphs can blur. Some attacks punish with little warning. That ambiguity flips patience into frustration. The difficulty is a tightrope. For some players, it is a meaningful lesson. For others, it is a wall. Content is focused. Tournament runs, survival gauntlets, a dozen brutal opponents. That's the loop. It is precise, lean, and deliberately narrow. There is beauty in that design. There is also a hunger for more, modes, extras, and breathing room. Technically, the game mostly holds steady. Input response is generally firm. A few controller quirks and audio toggles would help. The presentation is where it earns you. The visuals, the hit weight, the moment-to-moment drama. Baki Hanma, Blood Arena is an artisan minigame of punishment and payoff. It will grip you if you love pattern-based bosses, relentless learning curves, and anime-flavored brutality. It will frustrate you if you prefer breadth, choice, or soft margins. I score it a 6 out of 10 and can only recommend for fans of Baki, players who love punch-out style pattern mastery, and anyone who finds joy in earning every win. After opening Garfield Kart 2, All You Can Drift, you're immediately greeted by a bold explosion of color, a visual style that perfectly channels the zany energy of Garfield's world. The tracks are vibrant, often chaotic, and built with the kind of playful irreverence that reminds you of why you loved kart racing as a kid. Yet, the initial charm quickly gives way to a series of frustrations. The controls are complicated, drifting feels slippery at times, acceleration can feel inconsistent, and the inability to remap keys or controller buttons makes simple maneuvers unnecessarily stressful. It's as if the game wants to challenge you on every level, but not always in the fair or enjoyable ways. Customization is a strong point. Carts and hats unlock with satisfying frequency, and each option adds a tangible personality to your rides. The thrill of discovering new cosmetics, tweaking your cart for style rather than function, gives you a small but steady sense of reward. However, the promise of a multiplayer playground is undermined by a lack of private lobbies and proper matchmaking. Online races toss you into random sessions, leaving you either with strangers or bots, which deflates the sense of community and shared competition that makes kart racing so compelling. The game's content is simultaneously generous and stingy. 12 maps across 3 cups offer variety, but themes sometimes feel disjointed. A pirate track here, a cowboy track there. Garfield's world is charming, but thematic cohesion is lacking. Items are quirky, some inventive, but others feel like awkward substitutions from previous iterations, breaking immersion when the iconic, whimsical feel of Garfield's universe should be paramount. Audio options are missing entirely, and the soundtrack, though lively, can become overwhelming without a volume slider. Despite the flaws, the core racing experience holds up. Jumps, shortcuts, and drift opportunities reward skill, creating moments of pure exhilaration when executed correctly. Playing solo, or when random matchmaking cooperates, these moments shine. The game has a raw, chaotic joy in its DNA, one that can't be entirely erased by design oversights or missing features. Garfield Kart 2, All You Can Drift is a contradictory experience. Beautiful, chaotic, and occasionally brilliant, yet hampered by usability issues, limited online functionality, and inconsistent thematic choices. It's not a perfect game, nor is it unplayable. It's an emotional roller coaster of highs and frustrating lows. I give it a 6 out of 10. I can only recommend it to dedicated Garfield fans who can overlook its rough edges casual racers curious about a colorful, unpredictable experience, and anyone willing to embrace chaos over polish.